Last year, we had a member of our family, my grandson, Bishop or Norman Collins III, died from heat stroke on May 29th after having been inadvertently left in a hot car during church services while my son and his wife were attending church.
The day we need the thermometer to show the extreme temperatures that go on inside the car, it's not really a very hot day. So you can see our temperature outside is 85 degrees. But inside the car, it's 143 degrees. So even I was fooled at how quickly it could heat up in your car and the damages it could do to children or pets left in the car. Safe Kids and NHTSA, some of the things that we've come together to, initiate is just that we need to take action. We need to avoid leaving children in the car. We need to keep the car doors locked so that we can avoid children climbing into our cars. We need to create reminders. I've heard some really creative tips on creating reminders, from leaving your purse in the back seat to leaving your car, to even someone said earlier today, I had heard somebody say that they leave their left shoe in the back seat. They cannot go anywhere without their left shoe, so they are going to open the back door to get their shoe out. And also remember, I'm a very busy parent of 3, and I know how easily you can get caught off your routine and run to the store or run an errand and forget that those children are in the back seat. So we're asking that people act. Avoid leaving the children in the car. Avoid leaving the car doors locked, or avoid letting them in the car by leaving the car doors locked. We want to create reminders and take action. When you park in a parking lot, we just ask that you look around and make sure that if you do see a child in a car, please call 911. There are emergency personnel responders, the police, that can get those children out. And I can tell you, I'm a nurse in the children's emergency department, and every second counts. So we really need those children out of the car as quickly as possible. So we're asking for the public's help with that.
We're raising awareness of the danger of hypothermia and leaving children unattended in vehicles where they are subject to extreme heat, and heat stroke is often the result. We're just trying to raise awareness for the public, to ask them to be more careful and double check. I'm Shirley Thomas. I direct the Mississippi Office of Highway Safety, which is in the Department of Public Safety. And I want to thank you for coming today to welcome David Strickland, Administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is under the U.S. Department of Transportation. We also have our Region 6 NHTSA staff and our partner organizations, Safe Kids Worldwide, the Blair E. Batson Children's Hospital, and Child Safety Advocates. We're here to raise awareness to help prevent child tragedies from heat stroke. Since 1998, 13 Mississippi children have lost their lives to heat stroke. Nationwide, 549 children have died in this same time span. So today, we're launching a community effort to heighten the public's awareness of the heat stroke danger to our kids. At this time, our Department of Public Safety Commissioner, Albert Santa Cruz, will get us started with opening remarks and a welcome to our NHTSA Administrator and other partner organizations. Commissioner Santa Cruz.
I will thank all the hospital staff, the directors from each agency, and most of all, NHTSA and Safe Kids Worldwide. You know, I think this is one of the best programs that I have seen in a long time. Saving children. What can be more important than that right there? I think this is a great program. It's good to be here today as we discuss this important issue of protecting children, our most precious resource. The protection and safety of all citizens of this state has been and will remain the primary mission of the Department of Public Safety. Whether we are issuing an Amber Alert to rescue an abducted child, or locking up a drunk driver, or raising awareness about the dangers of the summer heat in an enclosed vehicle, we work diligently every day to make Mississippi a safe place to live and work. I applaud Director Strickland's efforts to increase awareness to this issue. In Mississippi, 2 children have been lost after being left inside a hot vehicle, a preventable tragedy. We look forward to continue our relationship with these partners in this effort. Thank you.
David Strickland is NHTSA administrator. He currently serves for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and he was sworn in January 4th, 2010. Prior to this appointment, he served for 8 years on the staff of the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. Administrator Strickland earned his Juris Doctorate degree at Harvard Law School and his BS degree in Communication Studies, Political Science at Northwestern University. Administrator.
First and foremost, I want to thank our fantastic partners, Carr and Save Kids Worldwide. We have been going around the country this entire summer, meeting with different communities where, frankly, there is a risk of leaving a baby behind in a hot car in heat stroke anywhere in America. But we've been specifically focusing on some of the hottest places in the country, because what we've seen and what we know is that a baby being left behind in a hot car is not only intensely irresponsible, but it's lethal. And we have been working now for 2 years on coordinating a national program, which has culminated into the Where's Baby, Look Before You Lock program, to get out outreach and tips and advice to make sure that no family, that no parent, that no caregiver ever mistakenly leaves a baby behind in a hot car. Now, we are here in Mississippi, and this is my first time here. I was actually a born and raised Georgian, so I guess on SEC affiliations we might have some differences, but we have one thing in common. We want to make sure we keep our babies safe. And as Shirley noted, Mississippi unfortunately has lost 2 babies this summer to being left behind in a hot car. And frankly, it is a tragedy that should never, ever happen. With a few key steps and few, frankly, learned behaviors, we can make sure we never lose a baby in this horrific fashion. Now, there's going to be a temperature display outside, and right now it shows 131 degrees inside that car. And even though it's a fairly warm day here in Mississippi, it doesn't have to be hot. You can have a car be dangerous on a beautiful temperate day. So, which is the reason why it's so important that we have to remember to always look behind that back seat before you get out of that car. Now, we've taken a look at technologies, and we have found that while there's some very well-intentioned technologies to help parents remember to always to check the back seat, we have found that they are not the best solution by themselves. Another reason why, besides them not being completely perfectly auto-grade, is that, frankly, between 20 to 40% of babies that have lost their lives to heat stroke being in a car, they got in the car by themselves. Parents or caregivers leave the car unlocked, curious children get in, and they can't get out. So that isn't a technology issue. That's, once again, is an issue to make sure that we all do the right things every time that we have our children with us in the car. Now, I want to sort of say one last thing about these strategies and the families that have been affected by them. Some of the finest people, some of the strongest people, some of the best parents I've ever encountered in my life have unfortunately suffered this ultimate tragedy. Dr. Norman Collins, who is a resident of this fine state, and I frankly call him as not only as a friend, but frankly as a guiding star, in my life, is a grandfather who has a wonderful, beautiful family, who unfortunately he lost a grandson to being left behind in a hot car. So please don't think that somebody is not attentive, not a good parent, not focused, or possibly even impaired or dangerous. It can happen to anybody. Doctors, lawyers, ministers, administrators of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. We are all at risk of this danger if we don't practice behaviors to do the right things when we're in a car. So I want to make sure that everybody remembers every trip, if you have a toddler in your life or baby in your life, to remember, where's baby? Look before you lock. You can get more resources and tips from our website, which is safercar.gov/heatstroke. So thank you again for this opportunity, for being down here in the fine state of Mississippi, and frankly having such great leaders, the Commissioner, Colonel Berry, the Highway Safety Office. There's so many folks that are so fixated on safety here. And I'm just so proud to be a partner and a colleague to make sure that we keep our babies safe every single trip. Thank you so much, everyone.
I'd like to acknowledge Michael Hughes, who's from Safe Kids Mississippi, and thank him for the work that he does all the time as a part of our organization. And a special thank you to Batson Children's Hospital for serving as our host today. And of course, my great travel companion on this campaign, Administrator David Strickland. He puts his heart and soul and is really dedicated to protecting children and adults who are on our nation's highways. Our work on this campaign would not be possible without the support of the General Motors Foundation, and I'd like to acknowledge them. They give us the resources to help get this very important message out. So exactly what are we talking about? Hypothermia, heat stroke. It occurs when the body isn't able to cool itself quickly enough and the body temperature rises to dangerous levels. For young children, this is a particularly dangerous risk because their bodies heat up 3 to 5 times faster than an adult's. When a child's internal temperature gets to 104 degrees, major organs begin to shut down. And at 107 degrees, that child can die. Now, 107 is a lot lower than the temperature display that we've seen up above 130 degrees. So we see from this example that cars can heat up quickly. We know that it can be 20 degrees in 10 minutes or less. Heat stroke, you see, can happen faster than you think. We've noted already that there have been 23 deaths this year alone, a total of 549 that have happened since 1998. Tragically, we lost 8 children in the first 7 days of August to heat stroke, and that caused us to really put an extra push behind our efforts because that just doesn't have to happen. What's often underreported is the staggering number of near misses, children who were rescued before a fatality. Now, here in Mississippi, we may not have the details about the near misses, but last year in one county in Florida, more than 500 near misses were recorded just in that one county. You see, people were on the lookout for kids who were left in cars. And if that's happening in just one county, can you imagine what's going on in the rest of the country? Heat stroke can happen anytime, anywhere. Deaths from heat stroke for children have been recorded in 46 states in 11 months of the year. So it's not just a problem for cities that are hot. It happens anytime. And we don't want to see that happen to any family. So we're asking everyone to look before you lock, but also to think of this acronym, ACT. You can avoid heat stroke by never leaving your child alone in a car, not even for a minute. The C stands for create reminders. Put something that you need at your final destination in the back seat, be it your purse, a briefcase, better yet your cell phone. You won't be tempted to take a call. Something that you're absolutely going to that will remind you. Those reminders are necessary. We found that a lot of the incidences happen when a routine is broken, and so that reminder is a very important thing. And lastly, take action. This is something that absolutely every one of us, not only those who are here, but all citizens around this wonderful country of ours can do. If you see a child left alone in a car, call 911 immediately. I know that I'll be supported when I say this by the rescue personnel who are with us today. They want you to make that call. They would much rather make sure that a child's life is saved or that it's a false alarm than to be on the scene of a fatality and to witness the loss of a child. So thank you, everyone who is here with us today to help us get the word out. Let's all work together so that we don't lose another child. The children and families, not only of Jackson, Mississippi, all of Mississippi, and all of our country deserve nothing less. Thank you for having me here today.
Good morning. So we see heat-related illness actually very commonly in the summertime here, and I think it's well recognized in school-age children, the risk of heat stroke when they're out in the summertime participating in sports, but I think it's definitely less recognized, the risk to young children and infants, and as been mentioned before, they're actually at a greater risk of developing heat stroke. Young children just don't regulate their body temperatures effectively. Their body temperatures can increase about 5 times, especially in infants, about 5 times as fast as in adults. Also, just from a behavioral standpoint, a young infant, obviously cannot get themselves out of a hot situation. So a young child strapped in a car seat in the back of a car can't get themselves out of that situation the way an older child or an adult could. We keep speaking of cars because the car is such a risky environment because the temperature rises so quickly. It can increase in a closed car about 3 degrees every 5 minutes and get to a temperature of about 40 degrees higher than the outside temperature within 30 minutes to an hour. So literally within minutes, an infant can develop heat stroke. And for us in the emergency department, these are such sad and tragic cases because sometimes, depending on the degree of the hyperthermia when they come in, these babies can be very difficult to resuscitate. So it's so important to raise awareness of this risk because it's completely preventable. We would love to see everyone who cares for a child get into the habit of checking the back door, opening the back door of their car before they walk away from the car. As has been mentioned before, the idea of putting your cell phone or your purse in the back seat so it forces you to look in the back seat before you walk away from the car would be wonderful. This would go a long way to prevent these tragedies. Thank you.
And good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for being here at an event that personally means so much to me and my family. You've now heard the statistics and the medical facts behind heat stroke. I want to now share with you my family's personal and real-life experience with heat stroke and how it has forever changed our lives. On Thursday, February 17th, 2011, at 5:25 p.m. at River Oaks Hospital for Women in Flowood, Mississippi, my grandson, Norman Lee Van Collins III, was born to my son, Norman II, and his beautiful wife, Catherine. He was such a handsome baby with beautiful brown eyes, soft curly hair, and a precious countenance, much like his grandfather. I celebrated him every day of his short life. Since I was the 7th born of 7 children and the father of 7 children, I felt a very special connection to little Norman because he was also the 7th grandchild born to the Collins clan. My son, Norman, later informed me that they would nickname their son Bishop to celebrate the prophetic leadership we believe to be empowered by the Holy Spirit upon his life, as had been experienced by me as a pastor and my son as a minister of music. Like most grandparents, I could hardly go to a store without remembering to buy an outfit, a toy, or other item to share with my grandson. I even bought items of clothing for both of us that would identify us as grandfather and grandson, and I even looked forward to purchasing that perfect suit and tie. My house became a literal nursery, from Pampers to strollers, as I was privileged to babysit him several days while his mother and father were either at work, church functions, out of town, or simply because I loved to be with him. However, all of our aspirations for a bright future for our loving bishop and our family came to a tragic end on Sunday, May 29, 2011. That's when I received a phone call from a church friend who told me that my son Norman needed me to come to Clarksdale, Mississippi right away, that something had happened to our 3-month-old bishop. After several more frantic phone calls, I eventually received word that our beloved precious bishop was dead. Grief-stricken, all I could remember was the pain I had not felt in my heart since the death of my mother 10 years earlier. The 2.5-hour drive to see my grieving family seemed like an eternity. I finally found them huddled at the local hospital. The pain was compounded by the agony of seeing my son and his wife grieving as they fell into my arms at the hospital porch, surrounded by church members, family, and sympathizers. I shall never forget when my son told me of the details of what happened on that awful day. He, his wife, his daughter, and Bishop were late arriving at church that morning, where my son was the minister of music and his wife sang in the choir. When they arrived at church, his wife and daughter entered the church while Norman was left to remove Bishop and his musical equipment from the car. Norman said he saw one of the church members who had come out to assist him, as was custom on Sunday mornings, and requested that the member remove Bishop from the car and take him to the nursery for him. Being assured that the member had heard him, Norman proceeded to go into the church to set up his keyboard and to begin worship. But unfortunately, the member did not hear him. Thus, while church services were in progress, for the next 2.5 hours, Bishop was inadvertently left in the car, which was parked in the church parking lot with the windows up in 93-degree weather, still buckled in his car seat. When church services were over, Norman proceeded to the nursery to get Bishop, but he wasn't there. Norman, his wife, and other members rushed to the car, only to discover Bishop unresponsive, at which point he was rushed to the local hospital and pronounced dead on arrival. According to the autopsy report, our beloved Bishop died from hypothermia, commonly known as heat stroke. My grief-stricken son did the honorable thing and immediately turned himself in to the local police department, who charged him with negligent manslaughter during the arraignment and assessed a $30,000 bond. Fortunately, the Lord gave us a miracle in that the grand jury did not indict my son. It was a bittersweet ruling, considering that even though Norman was cleared of the charges, our loving Bishop was no longer with us. As one would imagine, the days since Bishop's death has not been easy, as my family and I will never have the chance to take him to school on his first day, to attend his graduation, or to take him on his first fishing trip. However, his untimely death has yielded several positives, including bringing to the forefront the need to build the awareness of child safety in and around cars. This is especially important to me and my family, considering that of the now 23 confirmed child heat stroke deaths in the United States thus far this year, 2 of them have occurred here in our own home state of Mississippi. That's why, in our efforts to somehow, by God's grace, turn our pain into power and to not allow Bishop's death to be in vain, it is important, very important to us, to make sure this tragedy does not happen to anyone else. I have personally made it my mission to travel far and near to promote and present to anyone that will hear me the awareness, the dangers, and prevention of heat stroke, one of several ways I believe God continues to heal our hearts of the awful pain of May 29, 2011. And that is why I am so excited for today's event and for the incredible commitment from Safe Kids Worldwide, from Dr. Strickland and NHTSA, the Mississippi Governor's Highway Safety Commission, the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, Batson Children's Hospital, and everyone here today. Yes, Bishop's death was tragic and unintentional. It was the result of confusion and misunderstanding between 2 people, but above all, it was preventable. No, we cannot change what happened to our precious boy Bishop, as much as we would like to do so. However, I, my son, and his wife, who are present here today, and our family, along with you as advocates, parents, teachers, rescuers, and media, can do something to help. Our methods may somewhat differ in doing so, but our mission of preventing hypothermia and saving lives is the same. One may say that such a tragedy would never happen to me. Well, think again. It can happen. It does happen. and it did happen to us. We all have a God-given right, responsibility, and reason to protect our children as well as each other. So please join me and my family in spreading the word that children should never be left alone in unattended vehicles, not even for a moment. And if we keep working together and pledge to never stop talking, never stop teaching, and to never stop sharing, I truly believe that we can end these kinds of tragedies once and for all. Again, thank you. The awareness has been heightened, and hopefully there has been some deep thought given to the matter, and maybe, hopefully, the goal would be achieved of saving more lives and that we won't have any more hypothermia deaths in Mississippi or anywhere else for that matter.
Avoid leaving the kid in the car and create reminders. I've heard of even people leaving their left shoe in the back seat when they put their kid in. That way you can't go anywhere without your left shoe. So just create reminders, whether that's a teddy bear or something in the car seat. Whenever you put the baby in, you put the teddy bear up front with you. So something to remind you to look in the back seat and then take action. If you park in any parking lot and you look around and see a child, dial 911 right away, because every second counts.
Is this a problem that is unique only to 95-degree days, or when is the danger present?
It's actually present all the time. Heat in the temperature in a closed car can reach about 40 degrees above the outside temperature. So even on a 70-degree day, you can reach temperatures above 100 degrees. So it really is a risk year-round.
Those are the things that you need to do every single day to make sure you put that purse, that briefcase, that cell phone in the back seat. If you're walking through a parking lot and you see a baby left behind, don't think, maybe mom or dad will be back in 5 minutes. Call 911. The police, the first responders, they want to make sure they get there to have a baby that they can actually take care of, or even better, a false alarm. You don't want to get there too late.
I think this is one of the best events that I've attended this year, and I think it's something that the public needs to be aware of. If we save one child's life, all this is worth it. And NHTSA and Safe Kids, I think, is one of the best deals that we've got going in the state of Mississippi right now.
We have information on our website, which is www.dps.ms.gov.